Hi, I hope you're having a great day today. As you know, Madam Web, a superhero movie based on Marvel Comics, was recently released. The question is, will it really live up to the hype to start the year of 2024? Well, this movie will tell us a standalone origin story of one of Marvel's most enigmatic heroines. For sure, many of you saw it when you were kids, but the right question is, was it really needed? Well, now we'll see her forced to confront revelations from her past and forge a relationship with three young, fertile women, destined to have a powerful destiny. Make yourselves comfortable, and now let's talk about Madame Web. It all begins in 1973 in the Peruvian Amazon, where we see a woman in the middle of nature taking pictures with her partner, or rather, her security. Her name is Constance Webb. Pay attention to this because it will be key to the development of the whole story. The man asks her if they are close to finding her. A mysterious spider, for they have been looking for it for a long time. The man knows that this spider grants powers over humans, but she, Constance, lets us understand that she is looking for it to cure people's diseases. At that moment, we see a web, but empty, being the prelude that the spider would be very close. Ezekiel goes to the camp to look for more information about the spider, reading Constance's notes, but more importantly, she finally manages to find the mysterious spider, screaming with happiness. However, her companion upon hearing this would reveal his dark intentions, shooting all the camp helpers, being left in the end alone with Constance, whom he immediately takes the spider away, and the man escapes, leaving the wound. Obviously, Constance would have a tragic end, however. Strange beings appear through the trees, moving with superhuman abilities, or rather, saving the woman, taking her through the woods to a distant place because in a cave with water they try to save her. The mysterious leader of this tribe has one of these mystical spiders bite her, and so her baby is born safe and sound. What will really happen? Well, that's the premise of Madame Web. Now we find ourselves in the year of the year in New York, where we are going to follow Cassandra, or rather, Cassie. This girl works as a paramedic at the Red Cross, and we see her driving at speed to save a woman. When she arrives at the hospital, the curious part begins, because she saved the stepmother of this young girl named Julia, who will be very important for the whole story. After a long day of work, she returns home. We discover that she is a lonely, single woman who lives with her cat. In her lonely apartment, she reviews things from her past, where we discover that her mother was the woman from the beginning, as Cassie reviews her documents finding all the information about the spiders. However, she harbors some resentment towards her mother, as she believes that thanks to the spiders she totally neglected her. The next day, Cassie has to attend to another accident. It's a guy who had crashed and was about to fall into the river. She enters, cuts the seatbelt, and her partner extracts the subject. However, the car begins to move and she almost falls in the vehicle into the river, where it appears she will drown. Soon, however, we see her enter a dream world. In this astral plane, she has all kinds of visions. She sees blood on her hands, she hears voices from the future, but understands nothing. We even see how many cosmos energy loops come out of her, but she soon wakes up in reality, as her partner pulled her out of the water and woke her up. However, she, although awake, continues to have brief flashes of visions. She even goes back in time, for when her partner measures her blood pressure, she thinks he is measuring her twice, but in reality, she went back seconds. Still, she doesn't realize it and thinks this is a product of what happened. But of course, while all this is going on, we get to see the villain again, as we see Ezekiel from the beginning, now sporting a more aged look. The very dapper one attends an opera concert with a woman he recently met, whom he looks, then takes him to his apartment to give him some pleasure, where we discover that he has the spider and has also obtained the powers. However, he is not happy, and constantly dreams of three young girls with spider-like abilities who brutally confront him and defeat him. He has had these premonitions for years, and we will soon understand why. Ezekiel talks to the woman, telling her that he will soon die because he is having constant visions. However, she does not believe him. These oddities of the guy force her to try to pull out her gun, but he stops her and poisons her with his hand, as let's remember that he had spider abilities. We soon find out that this woman worked at the NSA, and he needed her credentials to access all the cameras and data of people around the world, as he needed all this information to find the women who kill him in his dream. After the woman gives him her credentials to access all the data and security cameras on the planet, he murders her. Meanwhile, Cassie attends her friend's baby shower, named Mary Parker. All the girls comment on their childhood experiences. However, when Cassie's turn comes, she tells us her sad story as her mother died when she was born, since in her last month of pregnancy she went to the Amazon. The pregnant friend's next game is to guess the future name of her baby, but when Cassie's turn comes, she has déjà vu, believing that her friends are teasing her by repeating words, but she is unintentionally kind of slowing down time. At that point, Cassie is alerted, so she has to go because she belongs to the Red Cross and there was a fire on the pier. When she was resuscitating an unconscious guy, she hears voices and has visions of the near future. Exactly, an accident in the ambulance. But it was not very clear. However, these voices she hears several times, and I even delayed the time several seconds over and over again. When her boss was about to get into the ambulance, she tries to stop him, telling him that she will be driving today. Unfortunately, he says no, telling her that maybe she is stressed and had a bad day. So he will continue with the job. However, when he leaves, the ambulance on the corner is hit by a truck, brutally, and crushes it, ending the life of his colleague. So here we discover that it was a real vision. She tries to help him, but it's too late. He is dead, and his hands are stained with blood, as she had seen in her visions of the river. At the same time, Ezekiel, now with the credentials of the woman he seduced, has access to the entire NSA network with all the information of everyone on the planet, so he places the faces of the 3 girls who were constantly in his dreams. To find them, his secretary searches for them, telling him that they are still teenagers and have no connections to each other. However, he suggests that they will later have powers and end their lives. Returning to Cassie, he continues with the strange happenings in her day. She sees a pigeon die crashing through her window, something very strange. But as she opens the window, she turns back time. The pigeon disappears and is gone, so she leaves the window open. And suddenly, seconds later, the pigeon disappears. Paloma enters her apartment alive, realizing that at least she can change things about the future. At that moment, Ezekiel is alerted that the 3 girls he is looking for have been identified as Julia Carpenter, Mattie Franklin, and Anya Corazon. They are now on the subway but have yet to meet, or as the man says, not yet, but they will meet. Cassie on the train has constant visions of how 3 teenage girls she doesn't know are killed by a strange man, but she doesn't know who he is either. While on the train, she goes back in time several times and has flashes of the future where she sees how the man murders Julia and the next girls. Cassie doesn't know what's going on and experiences the same scene over and over again. However, it would all make sense to her when the 3 teenage girls arrive, and immediately Cassie sees the man, Ezekiel, in her visions, approaching in the next carriage. Sensing that he is going to finish them off, she tries to save them, telling them to get off the train. Although they don't understand at first, Cassie manages to get them out. But when they are outside, the man recognizes them. As he had superhuman abilities, they can't escape easily. This guy chases them and soon we spot him in his suit. Although it's similar to Spider-Man's, it's really not. This one has powers, although similar, different. The 3 continue to escape, entering cars and going out to the station. However, the man gets closer and closer. At one point, the police think Cassie has kidnapped the 3 teens, so they try to stop her. But soon the Spider-Man appears, and the cops are forced to confront him, but they don't even tickle him. This guy is so fast that one by one he eliminates them. And while fighting with the police, Cassie takes the opportunity to escape with the girls in a cab. On their escape, they hear on the news that Cassie was wanted by the police for kidnapping 3 teenagers, and that there was a strange occurrence as a masked man appeared at the station. Cassie, in a desperate attempt to save them, takes them to the woods, because in this place, there are no cameras, and the guy can't track them. Meanwhile, Ezekiel returns to his luxurious apartment in Times Square, warning his secretary to look for them and not to be useless because he is paying her a fortune, and if she doesn't succeed, he will finish her off. At the same time, Cassie talks to the girls in the woods, where she reveals that she can see the future, but at times the girls only tease her, but Julia tells her that she believes her. Also, that the man following them looked like a spider. Hearing this, Cassie remembers her mother's notes, as she was all the time looking for spiders, so she decides to return to her apartment telling the girls that in 3 hours she will be back, and not to draw attention to themselves if they want to stay alive, and leaves them alone in the woods. Now Cassie returns to her apartment. She looks for more information about the spiders in her mother's notes, where we discover that the spiders gave powers to the natives of the Amazon, and these had superhuman abilities such as super strength, extreme agility. However, there is something revealing that surprises her, because among the things she finds a picture of her. their mother, along with Ezekiel, who is now chasing the teenage girls. Meanwhile, they were bored in the forest, so they decided to go look for food at a nearby restaurant. The road gets dark, but they reach a restaurant where they finally have dinner. However, like all hormonal teenage girls, like the characters portrayed by Sydney Sweeney, Julia, the character she plays in this movie, is attracted to one of these guys, so her friend Maddie takes her to their table with them. But there's something they didn't realize. The owner of the restaurant sees them and gives them away, sending information to the secretary, who immediately alerts Ezekiel. So Ezekiel takes his rear-wheel drive sports car and drives off at full throttle. When Cassie arrives for the girls in the woods, they are gone, but she soon finds them in the restaurant, dancing on the table, and when she asks them to join her, it's too late. Ezekiel in his spider suit has arrived and beats the crap out of them. First he kills the blonde and then Maddie. Cassie tries to fight him off, but he is too safe. Passed. And at one point he stabs Cassie in the belly, ending her life. However, at that moment everything gets confusing. Suddenly we go back to the past. Now Cassie is fine with a sore belly. She is at the precise moment when she had just arrived in the forest. Realizing that she was in the past, she returns at full speed from the restaurant. But this time when she arrives, Ezekiel the spider was already there, ready to kill the girls. But Cassie runs him over with the cab and takes them away. However, in the struggle, Ezekiel poisons Cassie's hand. The villain, very upset about what just happened to him and especially about being recently run over, asks his secretary for the location of the teenagers, but she reveals that she can't find them. However, she has more important information, revealing to him that the woman who is saving them is Cassandra Webb, Constance Webb's daughter. So Ezekiel instantly recognizes that she was the woman he killed in the Amazon in the year of Cassie's death, or at least he thought so. Much later, away from that place, Cassie teaches the girls a lesson, telling them that they can't even be quiet when he leaves them alone, warning him that he will return them to their parents to take care of them. However, each of the girls reveals that they have family problems. Their parents are absent and basically don't want them. In fact, they haven't even noticed that they haven't come home. So Case agrees to take care of them. However, at night when they were sleeping in an old motel, she wakes up, takes their things, and is ready to leave them. Then she takes the cab and continues on her way. However, everything gets stranger as she arrives at a place in the middle of nowhere, where she gets out and meets Ezekiel. The two have an astral conversation as they communicate on this strange plane. Easy tells him that next time he won't be so lucky and will inject him with more poison. He also reveals to her that he is looking for these three girls because in the future they will be assassins and will end up with him, but also with her, so she should help him. She also tells him that she knew his mother in the past, recommending him not to follow her same path. But before knowing anything else, Casey wakes up, and all this was nothing more than a dream. In the morning, she tells them that her mother years ago did research in the Amazon of Peru about spiders, telling the girls that she must go to the Amazon to find out what's behind it all. So she leaves them in charge of their Red Cross friend. We are now in the Amazon. Cassie has arrived with her mother's reference maps. Everything is very strange to her, yet familiar, until she arrives at the same place where her mother was, as we see it in a photo. At that moment she hears noises, and we have the same flashes that appeared when her mother was left dying. We see images of a man climbing, who immediately appears before her, telling her that he was waiting for her. He takes her far away from there, to a cave, which had water in it. This place is where she was born, but Cassie doesn't believe anything this guy tells her. However, he is very wise, revealing to her that Ezekiel, by stealing the spider, was cursed, so much so that she can't even sleep because of the constant dreams where they end her life. He tells her that she must heal the wounds of her past, and in one fell swoop he pulls her into the astral plane, Doctor Strange style. Here Cassie is transported to a myriad of dreams, but most importantly, she sees everything her mother went through, how she went to find the spider in the Amazon, and how Ezekiel betrayed her. He took the spider from her and hurt her to take it away, but even more importantly, she discovers that her mother went in her last month of pregnancy to the Amazon because her daughter, Cassie, was doomed to be a dysfunctional baby. But her mother, with much hope, decided to go to the Amazon to save her. After accepting this reality, she awakens from the trance and finally understands that her mother wanted to cure her and really loved her, not as she thought, because she resented her. The man reveals to her that sacrifices are made for the people you love. In addition, he tells her that she did not receive a physical gift but a mental gift, clarifying that if she masters her mind, she can be in various parts of time and space. But while all this was going on, Mary Parker, her pregnant friend's water breaks, so they take her to the hospital. But one of the three reckless teens is recorded by a security camera, so Ezekiel's secretary finds her, giving her location, and the villainous arachnid goes after them. When Cassie returns from the Amazon and arrives at her friend's house, it was empty, and she has constant visions of the Spider-Man catching up with her friends and blowing them up in the middle of the street, so she steals an ambulance to find them. Meanwhile, the arachnid orders to turn green all the traffic lights in the area where he was getting pregnant with the girls, forcing the vehicle to stop. He appears at the top, just like in the visions, and gets ready to finish them off. However, Cassie, thanks to her visions, knew where he would be and arrives with the ambulance at full speed and crashes it. In addition, the bomb this guy had also explodes. Now he takes the teenage girls to safety, but the club breaks down under a bridge and they don't know what to do. Here, she has another vision of how he manages to escape amid explosions with a flare until he reaches a helicopter that would save the three teenagers. So following his visions, he begins his plan. He starts by calling a helicopter and continues running with the girls through a warehouse of fireworks, where the arachnid villain approaches to kill them, but they explode several boxes, stopping him. The fireworks helped them escape. However, when they were on the roof, the explosives continued to break several structures. The helicopter arrives but can't pick them up there, so he orders them to go south. While running, the girls are followed by the arachnid villain, who is about to assassinate them on several occasions. But Cassie, with her visions, manages to give them orders to dodge his attacks. However, at one point the villain deflects one of the metallic objects to the helicopter, making it explode. And it seems that Cassie's vision of the future will not be fulfilled and her friends will not be saved. We see that the three were separated and in fact were about to die of falling to the floor. At that moment, Cassie decides to accept all her powers, and we see how energy loops emerge from her mind like spider webs. She tries to save her friends with her mind, but the man hits her, leading to a fight between the two. Clearly, Ezekiel is physically superior, and it looks like he is going to defeat her, but Cassie accepts his powers and his mind becoming Madame Web. With her psychic powers, she corralled him into metallic rubble and tells him, "You were worried about your future. You thought the girls were going to kill you, but in reality, your future was me." And immediately the structure comes off and he falls to the ground. To make things more abrupt, the huge metal S of the sign falls on him, ending the threat. However, it doesn't all end here, as Cassie falls into the water and it looks like she will die by drowning. She has multiple visions, and although it looks like she will die, the girls rush to her aid and rescue her from drowning. But now there's something curious. It's Madame Web at last. Web, because apparently her eyes have changed and she is saved in the hospital. Apparently all is happiness, and many days later she would return to her apartment. We discover that she now lives with the three teenagers and wears glasses for more style. But more importantly, she can now see beyond the obvious in the style of Neo in the Matrix. But of course, we have to clarify that the film went a little overboard with the trailers, because there appeared three superheroines that finally did not appear in the film, except in this final scene, where Madame Web tells us that in the future she sees the three of them as superheroines, and we finally see Julia Carpenter, Maddie Franklin, and Anya Corazon with their respective costumes. Before wrapping it all up, Madame Web tells us that the best is yet to come in the future and thus ends this film. No epost credits, no more to talk about here. The right question is, did you like it? Didn't you like it? Well, something I know you will like is the recent Ferrari movie, which I'll leave you in the first comment posted. Well, now I say goodbye. See you next time. Bye and a kiss to all.